Hey everybody, it is Safi and Marco, dish out on movies. The only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It is just Marco here once again, and I am here today to review a very popular new horror movie called Longlegs. Now, I've been looking forward to seeing this movie, actually. So, I went in with the best possible mindset. I didn't really have too much of an expectation of, I didn't think it would be the greatest thing in the world. I didn't think it would be bad. I just thought, I'll see what it's like. I mean, I've never watched a movie by Osgood Perkins. I've never seen this Maika Monroe girl before. So this was kind of like my first time, with these two. And, oh God, this movie, oh God, it was so bad. I'll tell you guys what I did, because I would never do this. This is something that is so rare. It's almost like telling of how bad the movie is. So usually I do not take very many notes throughout watching a movie. For Star Wars yesterday, I took 10 notes on a Microsoft Word document. For this movie, I had to get out my phone, go all the way to the back, and sit there and type manically on the notes app, bad thing, bad thing, bad thing, just over and over and over again. It was almost like I was typing the entire movie, and I was like, yeah, this movie it deserves some special attention. I'm almost overwhelmed, because this movie, it's like a gift. It's like a gift from the bad movie gods. It's like everything about this movie is bad, almost. It's a wonder that this movie had a single good review, because right off the bat, and I'm going to spoil this movie too, overall, my non-spoiler review, this movie sucks. It's lame. It's meaningless. It's joyless. It's charmless. There's no lightness. I don't care. The darkest movies in history have charm. They have light moments. They have, some kind of joy. This movie has no joy. And I heard people, after I did the Rogue One review, I heard people saying that Rogue One was an overly depressing movie without any joy or hope. But that's what I think about this movie. Rogue One did have some moments of joy and comedy and lightness and hope. This movie had none of that at all. It spent way too much time trying to copy Silence of the Lambs. And copying Silence of the Lambs was the worst thing this movie could have done. Because the entire movie, you're just thinking, wow, Clarice Starling would have fucked these people up in this movie. She would not have put up with any of the shit that Lee Harker puts up with for an hour and a half in this fucking movie. And then Nicolas Cage, every time he comes on screen, it's just hilariously bad. It's laughable every single time. It's is this guy supposed to be scary? Is this guy really supposed to be scary? I mean, he is just so overly comedic, over the top. It's like watching Jim Carrey playing a character. I mean, it is bad. It is really, really bad, this movie. There were, and so this is non-spoilers, because I have a bunch of notes here. I am going to go through a lot of these points again, probably. But I just want to say really quickly, before the people who don't want spoilers to click off, there were two actors in this movie who did a really good job. And that was Alicia Witt and then Kiernan Shipka, who I've never seen her before in a movie. I heard about her with her Chilling Adventures of Sabrina show on Netflix. Like, that's pretty much all I think about when it comes to her. I don't really know anything else about what she's done, but she did a really good job for only being in this movie for like 5 minutes. And like, honestly, she would have been way better as the main character. I mean, I don't think the main actress is bad, but I think that the direction that she was given with her character was terrible. Because this is quite possibly the worst female character I've seen the entire year. Yes, she is worse. Let's see, actually. I'm going to check. Okay, no, she's not worse than... Okay, no, she's not the worst female character, but she's close to being the worst one. She's a terrible character. She is such a flat... Not flat physically, but just a flat character, boring, uncharismatic. She looks constipated the entire movie. And Kiernan Shipka comes on screen for like 5 minutes and she like steals the show. And then Alicia Witt as well has like a whole thing at the end where she gets to steal the show with her acting ability. And, you know, so I will say those were the only two good things about the entire movie. I thought this movie was terrible. I would not recommend it at all. It's pretty much like an artsy, pretentious version of, like, you know, those old 1970s drive-in movies about Satanism and cults and shit. You know, like those movies where, like, you got fucking Christopher Lee investigating cults and shit. And, like, I'm pretty sure that's why the guy who made this movie... Osgood. I'm pretty sure why the main character is called Lee Harker is because of Christopher Lee and watching these bad 1970s cult movies. Oh, I think that guy is into Satanism. He must be a bad guy. Ooh. Like, just really corny, goofy. Yeah. But anyways, this movie is so bad. I mean, I was like, I couldn't believe how bad this was. It was so bad. Why was this so bad? I mean, right off the bat, time for spoilers. Right off the bat, fucking Nicolas Cage comes on screen with like a jump scare, and this is what he sounds like the entire movie. Hey, I'm Nicolas Cage, and I wore my Longlegs today. Like, what were they thinking? Why did they think that'd be scary? Who thinks that he's scary? Is there someone who thought he was scary? We never even got to see him, like, do any violence to anyone else in the entire movie except for himself. Well, actually, there's a part near the end, I think, where he strangles someone in the background or something, or where shit. Yeah, but, like, that's it. Like, we don't get... This guy is not intimidating at all. He's a terrible villain. Now, Clarice Starling, that's her name. I'm not going to call her Lee Harker. Actually, let's call her Leak. You know, like when you go outside to take a leak. Like, that's what her character is. She's just a leak. This character is nothing but like a Clarice Starling ripoff with psychic abilities. And this character is terrible. She basically has the same facial expression almost the entire movie. Like, she's constipated as hell. And this is the final girl look. This is like, it's like all the final girls, for some reason, they all have to look constipated now. They're never allowed to enjoy life. They're never allowed to joke around. You know, like, God, remember in Nightmare on Elm Street how Nancy was just serious the whole movie and she never had any sort of fun at the beginning? She was never joking around with her boyfriend. She was never eating fucking McDonald's fries with him and shit. You know, oh no, she was serious the whole movie and she just always looked like she was constipated. Like, No. Like, fuck off. Like, I'm so sick and tired of these fucking final girls. These stupid final girl characters. They're the stupidest fucking horror characters in fucking existence. These modern final girls. They're stupid. They're dumb characters. They're not even fully developed characters. They're trash. You got Lee Harker here. And she's like, I don't drink. And it's like typical final girl bullshit. She's not allowed to drink because a final girl isn't allowed to drink. And then at another point in the movie, she sees drugs and she's like, eh. And so she doesn't do drugs either. It's like, this is typical. This is so cliche. This is so stereotypical. It's ridiculous. And at first, Clarice Starling has this evil white guy partner. So she kind of gives him the cold shoulder a little bit, but then she doesn't. And, you know, because he treats her like she's lesser than him. And he's like, okay, you just stay in the car, of course, because he's an evil white guy. And she tries to warn him because she has these psychic abilities. She warns him about, okay, the bad guy's in that house. Let's call it in. And he ignores her and gets shot. And, yeah. Stupid. And then after that, I don't know what was going on here, but then all of a sudden, they put Clarice Starling, or they put the leak into a dark room. Or maybe she just woke up there. I don't even know at this point. Like, the movie just jumps all over the place without any sort of direction or without any sort of drive forward. It just jumps around like you're just supposed to. This movie treats you like a child. This movie treats you like you're a little child and you're just supposed to follow all this bullshit and think that it's like something like fantastic. She's in this dark room and all of a sudden she's got to take this random test. And like, honestly, she's like, what is this? What's going on here? But like, honestly, the real Clarice Starling wouldn't put up with this bullshit. Clarice Starling would have been like, what the fuck is going on here? Or that doesn't sound like her. That's what the? I'm Clarice Starling. What the fuck is going on here? Why am I in this dark room? No, that doesn't. Okay, I'm not going to do her voice anymore. That's not her voice at all. That's terrible. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Jodie Foster. You don't deserve that, you know. So, there's some bad lines in the movie, too. One of the bad lines is, half psychic is always better than not psychic at all. Now, that sounds like the most bullshit thing that a fake psychic would say. You know what I mean? Like, that sounds like something where, like, a dime store psychic would say that. Half psychic is better than not psychic at all. Now, Lee gets a new partner, the Leak. She gets a new partner. He acts hilariously over the top. He acts like he's in a Dolomite movie. I mean, the way that... Because he's describing how this family got killed, and he's like, the father went and killed the mother, and 2 weeks ago, that's when it went down. And he's just like, he's so over the top, it's like, what is he doing here? But then, when it comes to the details of how the kids got killed, he is unable to even describe what happened with that. And he's like, you gotta look in the file. Yeah, just look in the file, Lee. And it's like, that is some weak sauce right there. Like, you're telling me, like, a seasoned FBI agent can't handle describing the details of how these victims died because they're children, but then you're fully capable of talking about how the adults got killed. Like, it's just ridiculous. It's fucking stupid. It's stupid. I mean, he's an idiot. Like, it is just so unbelievable, too. This entire movie, I know that when you watch a movie, You have to suspend disbelief. How can you suspend disbelief when the entire movie is this stupid? Now, something else that's weird in this movie is that there's constantly, like, pictures of presidents on the walls, like, all the time. Like, Bill Clinton's pictures in this movie for, like, 50% of it, and then Nixon's pictures in it for, like, 30% of it. Like, it's really, really weird. And so this movie takes place, I guess, during Silence of the Lambs period, because, again, Silence of the Lambs, Silence of the Lambs. Like, fuck! Like, just why? And also, I gotta say, like, putting Bill Clinton's picture in this movie was a bad choice, too, because it's like, Bill Clinton is scarier than Longlegs will ever be, okay? For what he did in real life. And we all know what he did. He is scarier than Nicolas Cage in drag with some cake face on, you know? And so I will say that was a stupid thing, too. And then there was a stupid part where the new partner, he finds the leak. She fell asleep looking at the files, and he's like, sometimes there's this thing called looking too long into things. Looking too long. And it's like, yeah, bro, you don't even look, because you can't even describe how these child victims got killed. It's like, you're an FBI agent and you can't handle that. It's like, you're terrible at your job. Now, they go out to drink together, and this is another thing where it's like, oh, he's so bad. Like, all the men in this movie at the FBI, they're so bad, and they're so, like, lackadaisical and casual, and she's the professional one who's so much better than them. And so she's kind of like, I have to go out with this guy drinking. It's late. She doesn't drink at all. And it's like, instead of that, it's just, again, she's so uncharismatic. Like, instead of that, wouldn't it have been nice to see her enjoying a beer with him? Not enjoying a beer, but, like, enjoying time with him, talking to him about herself, them getting to know each other. Like, wouldn't that have been so much better for the movie, so that you get to care about their characters more, instead of her sitting there like she's constipated while he's, like, asking her questions and guzzling down beer like he's like a dumb idiot guy, and she's like, it just... Now they're talking about how maybe Longlegs had an accomplice, and the black guy says, this is like some Manson type shit. Like, that's another sign of bad writing. It feels like for every single fucking horror movie nowadays, like, for anything, like, the automatic thing is for someone to say, like, oh, this is like some Charles Manson shit. And it's like, bruh, you want to talk to me about that kind of shit? Okay. That was a big mistake. Okay, but, like, Manson didn't do much of anything. At Sharon's house, there were other people that went there, and they weren't his accomplices. They were his goons. They were his stupid idiot follower people. He wasn't there with them. So to say that they're accomplices makes it sound like he was there with them. And it's like, again, it's like, instead of that, like, you could have come up with so many other better comparisons for this movie, too. Like, he is not the only killer in history who had, like, followers, or who had people who did bad things for him. Like, you think about the Candyman, like Dean Corll, and the Elmer whatever guy, those fuckers. You think about people like them. You think about, like, the Changeling movie, Clint Eastwood's Changeling movie, with that Gordon Northcott guy and his demented mother. That would have been a much better comparison, especially for this movie, since it deals with, like, mother-daughter relationship issues or something. I don't even know. Oh, God. I don't even know what this movie, like, seriously. This movie broke me. But yeah, Manson had accomplices. Now, then she takes him home, and she gets really upset that she has to go inside his house and meet his family. Keep in mind, he's her new partner. She should be feeling really bad that she got her other partner killed, and so she should be wanting to, I don't know, maybe wanting to, like, get close to this guy and make sure that, like, she develops a relationship with him to where she cares about him and wants to protect him, but, like, she just doesn't care. It's just all about her. It's all about, like, I don't know what it's about, honestly. She is the worst fucking character ever. She's just stupid. And he's like, come in and meet my family. And she's like, do I have to? And then she comes inside, and what's so cringeworthy is that she forces herself, like, physically she forces herself to keep this constipated face that she has the entire movie going. It's so hilarious and stupid. And you think about the real Clarice Starling, well, actually, she's not real, but you know what I mean. You think about her, she wouldn't have complained about having to meet her partner's family. Guarantee it. She would not complain about having to go inside and talk to the guy's wife and child. So, yeah. That's the character that we're dealing with, though. She's very, very modern. She's a modern final girl. She's a modern female character. She's not allowed to have fun. She's not allowed to have any charisma. She's not allowed to have any sort of personality. She has to be a mindless drone who all she cares about is work. All she cares about is solving this crime, which is basically, like, super easy, barely an inconvenience for her because she has this plot convenience psychic ability. I mean, it is ridiculous, this movie. I can't believe people thought this was good. And then Clarice Starling says she wanted to be an actress, which was, like, the most laughable thing ever. Because, like, how could Lee Harker be an actress when she can't even make any other facial expression besides constipated, severe constipated? And then she finally does break talking to her mom, of all people. She breaks for like 1 minute, and then has the same face for the rest of the movie again. So it's like her character's like an alien. Like, she doesn't even feel like a real person. She feels like an alien FBI agent or something. Like, you could have made a more interesting story about, like, she's an alien FBI agent where she's, like, trying to help out, like, the fellow, or the Earth people, and trying to solve crimes for humans. I don't know, but, like, yeah. Another thing, too, is that, like, Clarice Starling spends, like, 90% of this movie deep breathing. Like, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. She deep breathes so much. It's like you could close your eyes when she's doing that and imagine that she's getting rammed up the ass or something. I mean, like, it is hilarious. And you know what? You know why I think it is? I think it's because they're copying Silence of the Lambs. Because at the end of the movie, when she's going after Buffalo Bill in his house, she starts to deep breathe as she's, like, going down into his basement. But, like, she's not deep breathing the entire movie and remaining with this constipated face. And then Clarice Starling thinks that there's someone outside of her house stalking her. And so her solution is to go outside into this dark forested area and try to find him while deep breathing so loud that anyone could hear her and where she is and know exactly where to sneak up behind her. So that's what I mean. This movie is completely nonsensical. And then this is another thing too. She's very dishonest because she never tells her superiors or her partner about how Longlegs broke into her house and left her a letter. The big deal here is that they haven't been able to find any DNA evidence. They haven't been able to find any like physical evidence of like someone being in the houses where these people have gotten killed. And so you'd think that this would be something she would report so that they could possibly find some evidence in her house. I mean, she even wears gloves when she opens up his letter, and it's like, why is she doing that? She doesn't even ever tell them about that letter. And also, she is able to crack Longlegs' code within seconds. And I thought, oh, if only Lee Harker could have gone after the Zodiac Killer, right? I mean, seriously. I mean, what's up with that? Like, this is just typical modern bullshit. They still haven't finished cracking all the Zodiac codes. Still. And then Longlegs, it's funny because he is so conspicuous and obvious in how he's a bad guy, he's a creep, and it's like, how has no one noticed this guy and said something about him? Like, he goes into this hardware store, and the stuff that he does is just so weird. It's like, someone would have said something about this guy by now. Like, it is just so weird. No one thinks anything of this guy except he's that weird guy who comes in the store sometimes. And then the movie, it feels like it overstuffs itself with random creepy things. Random creepy moments, random scary things, random jump scares. It almost feels like this movie was made to be cut into little clips that you could post on TikTok or Twitter, you know? And then also, we've determined that this killer is like a Satanist. And Alicia Witt's character, she is also a bad guy. Like, I guess a reluctant bad guy, but now she's like, she's crazy too. And at one point she says prayers don't do a goddamn thing. And it's like, that right there should have been a hint that she was the bad guy, right? But again, very stupid. Then there's a part where Longlegs is singing and dancing, and once again, Nicolas Cage's performance in this movie is really hilarious. I mean, he's able to play a serious character, but he was not someone to be taken seriously in this movie. And then when they arrest him, too, keep in mind, at this point, when they arrest him, they basically arrest him because Lee Harker had some more psychic visions of her past, and he's only a suspect at this point. And this random police officer, the way that he says, I'm gonna need you to get down on the fucking ground. It's like almost like a satisfied thing, like he knows that he's caught the bad guy. But like, again, they don't know that this is the bad guy yet. So, and again, this entire movie is driven by psychic powers instead of doing actual detective work. There's not an actual investigation that goes on in this movie. And so that's another thing where, like, Silence of the Lambs, that's a real investigation that you feel like you're going along with, and you feel like you're with Clarice Starling. You feel like you and her are solving this mystery together. You do not feel like you're there with Lee Harker. You feel like she's an alien woman, and she's having these random psychic visions all the time, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. You don't feel like you're there with her, helping her, or anything, you know. And let's see. And then there was this other woman in the FBI. She was terrible. She was a really bad actor. She said, "We looked through his notebooks, and his writing is heavily satanic. He worships the devil, sure, but in the United States, he's allowed to do that." It's like, wow, that was bad dialogue. And then Longlegs kills himself too, which was really hilarious. It's like, okay, that was not really an intimidating character at all. That's the only time we ever see him be violent, really, in the whole movie, almost. Like, so that was also pretty bad. Like, he does this whole monologue, which is, like, hilarious. He starts swinging. He starts, like, swinging around in circles and doing all this crazy shit, and then he smashes his head on the table. I don't know why they thought that was scary. And then also, again with the Silence of the Lambs similarities, they're purposeless. Everything in this movie is purposeless and meaningless. Because, like, all that sexism BS at the beginning doesn't matter at all to the story. None of the Silence of the Lambs stuff matters at all. It's almost like it's just an aesthetic, the Silence of the Lambs stuff. It's like we wanted the Silence of the Lambs feel without giving you the Silence of the Lambs substance and characters, which is why that movie's good. That movie's not good because of the Silence of the Lambs aesthetic. See, there's so many movies nowadays, and instead of being something with substance, they're just all about aesthetic. They're just all about giving you a feeling. In this movie, it's like they're really getting off on how they're giving you this feeling of, ooh, isn't that creepy? Ooh, isn't that kind of dark? Ooh. And it's like, no, it's stupid, it's dumb, it's unbelievable, it's cartoonish, it's lame. Again, it's almost like how Disney thinks of Star Wars, like Star Wars is Darth Vader, the Death Star, and lightsabers. You know what I mean? Like, it's like they don't have an understanding of why Silence of the Lambs was actually good. And then the twist is Lee's mom is also a bad guy. You know, the crazy mom who spent like 10 minutes of the movie acting crazy. And it's like, wow, it's really surprising that other crazy character was also a bad guy. Like, like, I don't know. And then also, I will say that, like, there's so many moments in this movie, especially at the end. There's so many moments where Lee Harker just stands around and does nothing. That's another reason of, like, why this movie goes on for an hour and 40 minutes is because her character just stands around doing nothing to help, nothing to do anything. And again, Clarice Starling, the real Clarice Starling, would have cleared these fuckers. She would have mowed them down in 2 seconds. She wouldn't have played. Okay? It's so frustrating. It also kind of feels like the opposite of Trap, where, like, if you remember in Trap, the main guy, he spent the whole movie just constantly doing things to get out of the situation he was in. And this is kind of the opposite, where her character spends the entire movie doing nothing, you know, just standing there, having visions, not adding anything to the story. And then finally, at the end of the movie, Lee Harker decides to do something, but not before she lets an innocent man and woman get killed, you know, her partner, because it all culminates in the partner's daughter's birthday party, which is, like, conveniently around the days that this movie takes place. And, yeah, that was stupid. And then also, there's this whole thing of, like, creating dolls for the little girls or something, and then they get shot and there's a ball in their head or something. I have no idea what it's supposed to mean. I don't even think the director knows what it means. It just seems to be pointless, like it's just there to be creepy. And then the amount of plot conveniences in this movie is like out of this world. So finally, my last note before I give my food review and end this crap. The comparisons to Twin Peaks are dumb too. Twin Peaks had supernatural consequences to things. It doesn't seem like there's any consequence to anything in this movie, supernatural or otherwise, for Lee Harker. Like, it seems like her whole character is basically built around how she gets to just basically surf through the movie without ever being in danger at all. I mean, her mom even says that, like, the whole reason that she's become a bad guy is because Longlegs said that that's how she could protect her daughter. So, but then again, there was this part where she shoots her daughter's doll. And again, what's up with the doll? Like, there's no meaning to that at all. And then also, that Twin Peaks had charm too. Right? Twin Peaks had charm. It had a light 1950s soap opera quality to it. It had a lot of funny moments. It had great, fun characters, likable characters, evil characters, all sorts of characters. In this movie, everyone acts the same. Everyone all acts like they have a dark cloud over their heads the entire day. They all act like they have some sort of an issue. I mean, Lee Harker acts like she needs some Miralax and shit. And like, yeah. This movie was bad. This movie was really, really bad. So the food review, this movie lacks meaning. And I did make an Instagram post about this. This is the perfect video to talk. I really think there are two types of horror movies that come out nowadays. Number one, you have movies like Immaculate, where they're basically just simple copies of older, better movies. Rosemary's Baby, Or you have a movie like this, where it's just completely over the top, nonsensical, and overly complicated for no reason at all. But it also kind of has some copy elements too, or I guess aesthetic elements. But like, yeah, that's what I feel like. There's two types of horror movies. And I don't know. So I would give this movie a vanilla shake from McDonald's. I never get vanilla shakes, but I did get one once from McDonald's, and it was the biggest mistake I ever made. It was so gross, it was so flavorless and dull. And then they have the whipped cream on top of the vanilla shake, so it's like vanilla on top of vanilla. And they don't even give you a cherry anymore. No, McDonald's does not give you a cherry with your shake. So that's kind of another thing of why it sucks. Excuse me, sorry. And so anyways, stay away from this movie. Don't believe the hype. Or if you watch it knowing it's going to be bad, and watch it knowing that Nicolas Cage is going to be hilarious. Because I think that if you watch this movie drunk, you could have a real fun time. I mean, this movie would have been perfect for a drunk commentary. So, thank you for watching. Listening. Please like this video and comment and tell me what you thought of Longlegs. That's another thing too. Why is it called Longlegs? Right? Long legs. He says, I wore my long legs today. What does that mean? That doesn't mean anything. It has to mean something. Osgood Perkins. Even David Lynch. When David Lynch makes a movie When David Lynch does Twin Peaks, it always means something. Even if he claims that he doesn't, I don't know what it means. You just come up with the meaning yourself because I'm just a writer and I don't really do any of that type of thing. He's bullshitting you. He's lying. He's a fucking liar. He knows the whole meaning. He knows exactly what he's doing. That's a part of the fun. It's fun. Osgood Perkins, the trick with horror is to have fun. Silence of the Lambs is fun. The Shining is fun. It's fun to watch Jack Torrance go like, and you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna bash your fucking brains in. I'm gonna bash them right the fuck in. That's fun. It's fun in Psycho when he's eating fucking candy corn. It's fun. So, yeah. And fuck Lee Harker. That's for damn sure. I am sorry to Maika Monroe because I don't know her at all. And I don't know if, like, anything else that she's been in, or I haven't seen it. And so I hope that she doesn't get offended by me criticizing this. I'm criticizing the character. This character is complete garbage. It is one of the worst characters I have seen in horror movie history. It reminds me exactly why I hate these final girl characters. Exactly why. Because when they're done really well, they're really cool. But then when they're done really bad, they're really, really bad. I've never seen a final girl character who just stands around and does nothing. Nancy Thompson did shit. Sidney Prescott, she did shit. Even Laurie dipshit Strode did stuff sometimes. Okay? So please like this video and comment, and then please subscribe to our channel. And, yep. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.